Hello and welcome to Webhack Wednesday. I'm Martin Beebe.
And I'm Martin Kern.
And today we're going to be talking about Visual Studio Code.
Awesome.
We have talked about Visual Studio before.
Yep.
We've never talked really, we use Visual Studio Code all the time, but we've never really talked about it.
Well, we have a little bit.
Did we?
Yeah, because you've done that thing where you're in a file explorer and you do .code and it opens it up from the... that's my favourite thing in the world.
Yeah, it is the greatest thing. But other than that...
Yeah.
No, I've not really talked about VS Code. And there's a lot to sort of learn about it, and it can do a lot of cool things.
Yeah.
And I think it's worthwhile spending just 5 minutes looking at it and looking at like where you can learn more, because it does make you way more productive in it.
Cool.
So
it's definitely not going to be 5 minutes, by the way.
No, I mean you can in your own time look at it for 5 minutes. We're going to now spend about 20 minutes looking at it. But
because we
always run over.
We like the bants.
Yeah. So
okay, let's take a look.
If we open up Visual Studio Code,
which you can do, by the way, also by going to File Explorer and doing .code, and it'll open in the location where you are.
Well, yeah, there is that. Come on to that. I don't know why it didn't open that. Yeah, but we'll open up VS Code, and we've got nothing in it at the moment.
Yeah.
It's just blank.
Yeah.
And so, one of the best places to start with VS Code is in the Help menu.
Okay.
And ordinarily, I would not be a recommender of going to Help.
No.
But they've got this really cool screen called Welcome.
Okay.
And there is some really interesting things in here which are really good to not ignore.
Okay.
The first thing is clone Git repo. So you could obviously do this from command line, but if you want to clone a repo, you can just type it in here. So we can say Webhack Wednesday VS Code tips and tricks. Boom. Where do we want it? I'll just stick it in that one place for the moment, and it's going to go and open that and say, yes, I'd like to open that code repository. It just has one thing in there at the moment, which is Markdown file. Yeah. And this is really, Markdown is where I started using VS Code.
Yeah, I use it. It's my main Markdown editor as well.
Cool. So let's do some Markdown. Let's do some Markdown. And I might want to get more advanced and do some code.
That should probably be one word, by the way. I'm just saying. I mean, I know that's not relevant to the demo, but
what's that?
Markdown should probably be one word.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Equals.
Feel free to ignore me. I would ignore myself if I did myself say that.
There we go. No. Do you care about the capitalisation? Maybe.
Ideally, it should be capital M, but I wasn't going to say that.
Name of product. Yeah, I've got it. So that's some Markdown.
Okay. Yeah.
And you've got this nice little feature here which says preview. So we can preview that little bit of Markdown. So if I had one item 2.
I like the way you're singing
item
to it.
3 like that. And then I have that as a preview. I can see. Yeah. I like doing that 1.1.1 in Markdown.
It always freaks me out a little bit. That does.
Yeah. It will work in a better way. So you can have that kind of preview on all the time. The other thing you can do is you can switch into this with this little button here. You can split the editor up, so you can have the actual README here, and then the preview of that file. What is going wrong with me here? I've lost myself. Too small a screen. Got the README, and then in this we have.
Yeah, you've got the raw view there, and you've got a preview view
I haven't
there.
got. Oh, I have.
Yeah. It just wasn't particularly complicated Markdown, which was. Yeah.
So now I've got by just doing that split, I can have it. And if you've got a bigger screen, I'm on a pretty small resolution here. But if you've got a bigger screen, you can have I think up to 3, maybe even 4 splits of files. So you have different files sort of working. And as obviously this is a live edit, so if I were to add in another item 4 in Markdown, it would start doing that stuff. How do you do a table in Markdown? I can never remember.
I'm not sure Markdown's that great with tables. You use that character, don't you? The
hello. I'm sure that if I do this,
I think it's something like that.
And then
you can do the same below. It'll turn it into a table, I think.
And then is it that? And then
I'm not sure, but it's doing something cool.
I
don't think it is that.
I'm sure it's something like that.
Take the dashes out. That might.
No, I thought you'd need the dashes. Maybe you don't need the dashes.
I don't know. Either way, we can see it's doing a live update on the right.
Yeah, but now I've embarrassed myself for not knowing how to do a table in Markdown. What's the dizzle?
Just gloss over it by doing a H2 instead, because that's an easy one to do.
Wait, you mean like that?
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, okay. So it will support all the sort of Markdown things. So as you're writing a README or whatever, it's quite a nice little feature to sort of be able to show. So that's not really what I was going to want to show you, but I just want to show you the idea that you can you can open different files. All the files, by the way, are open here.
Yeah.
You can switch files around and move them between the left and the right there. I move them back into the left. So if I put a split again, it will show you here on the side left and what's in right. So I could put the README Markdown, the preview on the right, and the Markdown on the right, and I could switch them over. I guess if I switch them to the right, they're going to split it, and then you get the idea.
Yeah, cool.
So you can move different files between different things. You also have this file structure explorer here, which is down here. This particular project only has one file in at the moment, but you could go in and add files, new file .markdown, and it will create that file for you. And then I can put that in the left-hand side if I wanted to.
Okay.
And I can work in here if I want.
Okay.
Now it's much more than just an editor for Markdown, obviously.
Okay.
But it will support most languages. The whole thing is actually built in TypeScript. So it's the entire editor that you see before you is all generated in JavaScript, but they use TypeScript to generate that.
It's worth making a point as well. You're obviously using Windows here, but this is the same experience, exactly the same experience across all the different
Linux and Mac. Yeah. So it's all the same.
There isn't like a Windows version and then a Mac version. It's just VS Code. It's the same across.
And these little icons down the side here, you can click them to collapse them. So if you don't want to have, you want a bit more space, for example, you can reduce them. I always leave them open. You've got search, you've got debug, we've got our extensions, and then this one's really important, which is your source control. And so it's just a really, really lightweight editor for source control. So I've just added that new file. I'm going to just add that in, and I'll just put a added file. I can then commit that to stage it, and then I can sync that back up, and it will sync to GitHub for me.
Cool.
Oh, but I'm not logged into GitHub. That's never mind.
Let's just imagine that synced up to GitHub. And
yeah. I've got two-factor auth, and I don't really want to go through the pain. Close. But yeah, we could sync that up to GitHub, no problem. So let's go back to the welcome page again.
Okay.
And I will I'll just remove this. Don't save. And don't save. Save. And I've just got the welcome file.
Okay.
I'm just going to close that one up. There we go. So that's how we open up a GitHub repository. The other thing to mention before as well about Git is you'll see that you can switch branches down here as well.
That's cool.
So it shows you all the remote branches and the master branches and stuff, and there was more. And it also shows you like how many synchronized changes you need to make and what
it's
the
got
changes.
some quite nice.
It's like your Git status is basically down here on the left, and you can easily switch between your branches and stuff there. If I click on this thing, it's just going to highlight all of the different elements on the interface.
Oh, okay. That's
not
cool.
that it's sort of interesting, but it's not that interesting. One of the things that most people want to do is change the colour.
Of course.
So we can go in here and we can choose all the different colour themes.
No, I'm instantly attracted to Abyss.
Abyss?
Yeah.
Which the top one?
Yeah.
There we go. That's
purple.
The Abyss.
Okay.
Dived into
Who knew that purple meant Abyss?
You can. I think the themes are searchable somewhere. Let's just theme. Is it? There's an extension. Is that how I do it again?
I don't know.
Your icon theme. I'm
here to learn from you, mate. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
You can install different themes. So I had a couple of themes in there, but I could have put a material icon theme or whatever. But there are some standard themes which are already in there. I'm now in Abyss.
Well, you can choose a different one if you want. I mean, maybe let's choose a different one just to see.
Now, what? No.
Right. Let's go.
I think actually there we go. Install an additional colour theme.
Oh, okay.
Hopscotch. Let's install Hopscotch.
Let's have that.
Yeah. Reload with Hopscotch. Well, it looks like Abyss. But it is doing this, so... okay. Colour themes. We definitely switched to Hopscotch there.
There you go, we're on Hopscotch now. Because the blue bar's different at the bottom.
Yeah, that looks like default though. I think Hopscotch isn't working.
of all of the themes to choose, you've
chosen maybe it is. Maybe it is. It's just
I think it is. It's very
just
subtle.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, but you'll see there's colour themes that you can have, and there's plentiful colour combinations.
You can go through all of them and choose one that suits you, suits you and your personality most accurately.
Yeah. One of the things that some people like to do is if they've come from an editor and they've got lots of keyboard shortcuts that they know, they might want to import them. So we have a set of default keyboard shortcuts for VS Code.
Okay,
but if you want to map them to Vim, Sublime, Atom, or others, then you can add an extension. So we could say, I actually want to use Atom keyboard shortcuts.
So if you've come from Atom, that's what you're familiar with, then.
And there's loads. Like if you just basically it's all in extensions, but we're searching the extensions here to just show IntelliJ or Eclipse or Emacs or Delphi or Vim. I think that just means that the Vim one just makes it really difficult to exit.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm only kidding. That's a Vim joke there for people which.
I don't know what that means.
Don't worry.
I just laugh politely.
I know. I could tell. It's fine.
Moved on. Yeah.
So. The next one, which I want to sort of show off, is the if you don't go with those keyboard shortcuts and you just want to stick with the default keyboard shortcuts, then this thing is just a PDF which you can print off and then keep next to your.
So stick on your wall there and just enjoy.
And it will default to the computer that you're on. So if I was on a Linux machine, this would show me all the Linux commands. Now, actually, Windows and Linux are similar in terms of their keyboard commands. Mac are different. Very different in some instances, but obviously the point you press command and whatever, and now Macs don't have as many different keys on their default keyboard. They've mapped them to different ones. But if you want to do anything like find and replace, it's Control F, or as you'd expect probably. And navigation around the files and things like that, go to line, which is Control P. Control G, sorry, and then the line number. So it's or
you can use your mouse or touch screen.
You can use your mouse, but some people do.
Some people don't like to use mice.
No, and actually, if you can really get good on a keyboard, you can have there's a ton of developer productivity, which you can sort of you can work.
I prefer mice. I don't know. Does that mean I'm not a proper developer?
No, it's all fine.
I think it does.
Life is fine. Like, do whatever you want. But I will. If you do spend 20 minutes learning keyboard shortcuts, you will save lots of time in your life.
Really?
Yeah.
Will I save 20 minutes?
You save if you spend 20 minutes learning Visual Studio full fat, the keyboard shortcuts. You will, over the years, save hours of your life.
I think we should get our viewers to tweet in whether they are a keyboard person or a mouse person.
Well, when I started Microsoft, I knew ReSharper's keyboard shortcuts absolutely off. And then we didn't have ReSharper when I joined, and we're showing off Visual Studio, so you don't really want to put ReSharper in it. So I had to unlearn all the ReSharper keyboards, and then. Honestly, when I was a real developer, when I actually built real code,
did you have to relearn how to use a mouse?
I was always a bit of a. In all honesty, I've always been a bit of a heavy mouse user.
Yeah,
but
this is my point. You see,
anyway,
it's good that we've got keyboard shortcuts for those that like to use them. Should we say that?
Yeah, but I think actually in VS Code, honestly, it helps. Some of the keyboard shortcuts really do help because some of the stuff isn't as obvious as in maybe Visual Studio. Visual Studio, you have a lot more. You have a lot more kind of UI to play with.
Yeah.
Whereas in VS Code, it's a lot more cut down. It's a lot more editor-like.
Fair enough.
Right. So.
Okay, let's carry on.
The cool thing inside of the welcome page, you have a thing called an interactive playground.
Oh, okay.
And this shows you some of the keyboard things that you might not know about. So. If I press Control, Shift, and...
Have you forgotten the keyboard shortcut?
I'm actually reading from the top here.
Oh, okay.
It does say, if I do Control, Shift, Alt, and then down and up, you'll see that I've got like multi-cursor. There's three cursors, no longer just one. So I can say, what's your favourite hex value colour?
Oh, I don't know. I can't think of one, sorry.
I'll tell you. 336699, which is my favourite.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Hotmail Blue.
Hotmail Blue?
Hotmail Blue from back in the day. That's 336699.
That's good.
My favourite colour as well. But you see, I edit it on one line. Well, I'm typing it once, and it's just multi-cursor edit. So that's it's in a lot of these editors already. We also have IntelliSense.
Yep.
So in most languages, the JavaScript stuff is built in.
Yeah.
And it's got a really good. They have a lot of what they call typings. I don't know if you're familiar with TypeScript at all, but it means that that it has pretty good IntelliSense for generalized JavaScript already and generalized HTML. You can actually also add extensions to support other languages or other features or different typings files for different JavaScript libraries and things like that. But you'll see if I'm typing request here, it's figured out. It's figured out that I'm using Express, which is a library, and it's giving me the when I press request dot, it's giving me the information from request from Express, right? So it understands JavaScript, and as you're typing JavaScript or Go or Python or whatever language or C#, whatever language you're coding, you'll get intelligent IntelliSense. In all honesty, the best IntelliSense, I would say, is in JavaScript. Like it's a really good JavaScript IntelliSense editor, and TypeScript for that matter as well. We can Control-Shift-Alt.
These are brilliant. These keyboard shortcuts are so useful.
Copy a line and insert it below.
Okay. Great.
Control-Shift-K, I can delete a line.
Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. It is brilliant, isn't it? And this one, which I actually quite liked, was to move an entire up or down. So we can just press Alt and up, and then move the JSON. Cool. Oh, actually, we made our JSON wrong there by doing that. But you can move them up in a JSON file as you wish, or outside the JSON or whatever. So just like moving a line up and down is in its entirety, like the line actions. We can rename something.
Okay.
Oops. So if I wanted to rename this and change that book to Jeff.
What do you do F2 to do that? Yeah.
That was F2. Yeah.
Jeff.
You'll see that it changes there, but it also changes the function title.
Yeah.
And actually, that's
useful.
Well, it has really it has quite deep integration. And depending on how well structured your JavaScript files are, it will also change it in other files as well. That's not that renaming's happening solution wide, not just that file. Good. So yeah, it's using the IntelliSense. It understands that Jeff is a class, and working as you'd expect it to do. So rename refactor. Excuse me. Shift, Alt, and F. It kind of auto formats the document. So you've got untidy JavaScript, and that will be based upon the default settings. So if you're a tab person or a 4-space person, whatever. So it was that Control Shift, Alt, F, Shift, Alt, and F, which will format it. And also we can do that same sort of thing for a current selection. Oops. So if we had, it was a little bit messier in here, and I just select it, you can press, and this is the same in Visual Studio as well, Control K, Control F, and it will do that just selection, not the whole document.
Sure.
Control folding.
Code folding.
Code folding, that's what I meant to say. It's kind of like what you've seen, these little minuses and pluses, which you'll have seen in kind of Visual Studio main editor. You can do that all from the keyboard as well with Control Shift and then that open bracket to fold the code, and then to unfold the code as well. Or you can just do you
just
clicks and
mouse,
things as you like. Any edit when we're using TypeScript, we can surface errors. So here's an example of an error that it's found inside. And so for VS Code, especially inside of JavaScript, you're going to see error warnings and stuff like that being with these little red squigglies, which are going to be indicating that you've got problems. Also, on the right-hand side, in a file, you will see any areas where you've got these errors indicated by a little red dot. So you can go specifically to the kind of problem space that you might have.
That's good.
Now, we have the ability to add a snippet, and there's some built-in snippets, and there's ways to add custom snippets. I don't think the snippet system in VS Code is very good. It's a pain. I actually use this hot copy-paste clipboard manager for doing my snippets, but it's there, it's available, and there's some decent snippets already included, and also you can include snippets as extensions. So if you have there are extensions for snippets for React, there are extensions for snippets for various other things. So in the snippets, we just type in try catch, and that's a snippet, and then we press tab, and then that snippet will show up. But you can add your own snippets and stuff, and if there's repeated code things that you use all the time, then that's a really good one which I always use inside of JS is for each.
Okay.
So there you go.
Cool. That's good.
Now, Emmet, you know a bit about Emmet.
Do I?
Yeah.
Emmet is.
Wind your mind back. I've watched you demo it before.
So Emmet is the what was it called before? It's basically shorthand code, isn't it?
Yeah. To generate a ton of of HTML, I guess.
Yeah.
So we have it's built-in support for Emmet. So we can say here, I've got UL with LIs with the class name item, and I want it 6 times. Yeah. I press tab, and it will just generate the HTML.
Cool. Yeah.
It is right, but it's one of these sorts of things like. Do you really have time in your life to learn Emmet to be actually useful?
Like a few years ago, I showed this, I demoed this quite a few times, and I've only ever used it in those demos. So I'm not sure whether it's.
But maybe I don't know if.
But then I don't write a lot of.
I do. Code, I write a lot of HTML in my life, and I've never had a real problem with it to the point where I really need something to make this simple. I'm going to have to remember a whole new language. Yeah. The only thing I think that's really genuinely good for. Is to show off. Like if someone's looking over your shoulder or your pair program,
I'll just do a bit of Emmet. Just Emmet. There you go. Bosh tab.
And I guess
there's a load of code.
Actually, if you do have loads of embedded and it is repeated, maybe. But it's
But you shouldn't really have that much repeated code, though. That's the thing, isn't it?
It's probably not the greatest thing in the world to. I don't know. Who knows?
But it's a thing.
That's the other thing. Like I wouldn't ever be generating something like that. In static HTML,
I guess the things like it's done a list here, hasn't it? And so that's something that you like a div, like the Bootstrap div, where you've got a row and 2 columns of. There's a bit of code there that you might do quite a few times, which could be a good Emmet thing, I suppose.
And that's another example there where I've just I added multi-cat.
We're not on the thing. Do we have to do that again?
Right. Oh, never mind. I was just saying, I was just using that multi-editor there, so you can control.
So you were mixing it up.
Oh yeah, and then you can go and say some items.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas with Emmet, you could put different values in each of those things as well, potentially.
Yeah, you absolutely you could have done, but
the shorthand gets almost as big as the longhand then if you start doing that. But anyway, it's there. It's a thing for Emmet fans.
If you've taken 5-6 hours of your life, then
you can use it.
Brilliant, right? But there's loads of stuff as well that you can do. Let's have a look at some but I just can't understand why you'd learn it. But maybe if there's someone out there which is an evangelist for Emmet, and we're like, yes, it saved me hours.
I mean, we've spent 4 minutes talking about it, so
Sorry, let's move on.
Yeah,
it's good fun. So that's kind of just shows you how the interface and stuff works. So one of the things that I wanted to show you is a little bit about the sort of debugging experience as well. If you're a Node developer or you're doing JavaScript, then this stuff is really good. This is an application that I worked on recently. I will do my little trip of SCMD.
Oh, I love that.
Code. Code dot opens up code in the current file.
Yeah.
I've told everyone that.
It's my favourite thing.
Actually, I tell you what, if I do start dot, go back to that folder, and I'm just going to go into...
That was just one. I mean, people that have been watching the whole series might have seen this already, but you snuck that in there. You didn't really explain what's going on there.
Well, I just opened the file back.
This is courtesy of old Daltons, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Old,
Jamie Dalton taught me that trick.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make dir Beebs, and then I'll cd to Beebs. What we can do is code dot would open up that folder, but then you can also say index.html, index.js.
So this is the new folder you just created.
CSS. None of these files exist. Yeah. I've just created that folder, and then what should happen is it would be open, or VS Code will open in that folder,
those
and it will create those
files
for me. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Very cool.
It's a shorthand, which maybe that actually is something.
So just show the start thing again,
so if I want to go back to that folder, I would just press start dot like that, and then it should open up in that folder.
That's very cool. I like that.
So let me go back to that folder that I was going, LSE chatbot, and I type code dot in that folder, and it will open up in VS Code.
Okay.
Boom.
Good.
Okay. Now, oh no. Want me to load game? Don't worry. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, debugging. So there's a number of different debuggers. Again, there are extensions generally.
Okay.
So if you're using Go or whatever, you would add support for Go, and that would probably come along with a Go debugger.
Okay.
There's a Chrome debugger, so you can, if you're just debugging a JavaScript file in Chrome, you can debug it there. There is a Node debugger.
Okay.
And this is what I'm using here, which means that I can. I was wondering why those things were red then, and I've just realised I changed my colour theme, haven't I?
I don't know.
Variable should not be red. I don't like this colour theme which we're using. Yeah, we changed it earlier on,
of
on the thing,
did,
right? So if I go into one of these different things, app.js, that's one of the starting files, and I could just put a breakpoint in there.
Okay, yeah.
Click on the debugger, and it will start up the Node application, hopefully. I'm in there with the debugger.
Oh, that's good.
So if you're doing any kind of Node work or JavaScript work or anything, even if you're doing TypeScript to JavaScript, the debuggers can work in those environments as well. So there's, and I can debug, I can step through this code. There's also an integrated terminal in VS Code, or console. Let me stop debugging that. You can always get to the console, by clicking this button at the bottom, left-hand side, left thing, it'll bring up that, and then I can just go to the terminal. And then I'm in sort of PowerShell.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm in LC, so I can say git status in here. So if I don't want to, if I don't want to be open,
leave the environment.
Yeah, if I want to just work from in there, then I can. And I'm using PowerShell here, but you can add your own different terminal in here. You can choose whatever terminal you want in there. Maybe just a standard command. The other way to get to terminal, I think, is if I says control and backtick. The way to get to terminal is click that.
Yeah. Use your mouse. Just use your mouse. It's fine.
Yeah. There is a shortcut there. Look at your PDF document. I don't know. You've got the debug consoles and the outputs and problems it's finding with the code and stuff like that all in there as well. And you can add watches if I'm actually debugging again. Sorry, I've got that breakpoint again. So we could add a watch. I've got a watch here set up already for session preferred locale, which is not available in this context, but when it does become available, that will show up. And if I wanted to start monitoring that, I could debug add to watch, that monitor thing. Let's recognize it will add something which actually is available, add to watch. And then that recognises that was there whilst I'm running through my site.
Cool.
So it's kind of got a really good integrated debugging experience as well, especially for Node, but for other languages as well. Let's see. Last up, one of the things is when you're working in this sort of code as well, you might want to say get out of you might just get into the code. So one of the things is Control K Z, and it takes you into a thing called Zen mode, which is just like which is like a.
So no distractions. Otherwise known as full screen. Is that like?
It is. Why have I not included in my notes the way to get out of Zen mode?
Is it the same? Is it? Control?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. But it is. It is. I was just not typing it right. So it's Control KZ again to get out of it. That was quite funny.
I like that.
Let's just close down some of these files. So we've got something which is a little bit open editors. I will close down the right hand thing. Just leave me with the left, and I'll open up this particular file. And I have added a thing called Annotator, which is an extension which I just included in my application. So to search the extensions marketplace, you just put just type in something and you'll get some bits and pieces. But I've put in Annotator, and then if I go back into this file and I say F1, which F1 always gets you into the terminal. This bar at the top, and from there you can get to anywhere in the system.
Sure.
So if you've forgotten something, like if you wanted to say format document, but you've forgotten the command,
you can just kind of
search F1 and then format code, and then it says Shift Alt F, so you know that that's the command for it, right? And because I've installed the extension Annotator, it's allowed me to say annotate the current file before the commit or annotate. So I can say annotate this current file. And you'll see that then on that file, it's got my git commits annotated against my file. So if I was like going to say, who do I want to blame for this piece of dodgy code, I'd look over here and say, oh, Martin did that,
I see.
doing the Kings, or Leon did that piece, or whatnot. So I can see who did the work on that particular file at any particular point, and then actually go into that merge and see what's happened and the differences and changes and stuff like that. So it's quite a powerful sort of thing. The real power in VS Code comes from the extensions, I think, and there's a huge market of these extensions. There's extensions for all the different languages, all of the different kind of source control systems, which makes it into a really, really powerful, lightweight, easy to use editor. And the coolest thing about it is to install something like VS Code. It takes about 2 minutes. It's literally
very, very lightweight.
It's very, very lightweight, considering all the sort of productivity features you get there. So that's VS Code in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
That's it for Web Hack Wednesday this week. We'll see you next week.